The Russian Communist Party renews its full support for Syria against foreign aggression. Units of the Syrian Arab Army destroy terrorist hideouts and crush their groups in various areas. A candle march in Majd al-Shams to show mourning for the victims of the terrorist explosion in Damascus. The terrorist Abdelhadi Mohammed al-Khief admits his participation in the destruction of al-Qasir hospital through explosives buried in a tunnel under it. Good afternoon, welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Dania Nizam. Members of the Syrian community in Sweden strongly condemned the terrorist blast in Damascus last Thursday. Members of the Syrian community in Sweden issued a statement asserting that the terrorist acts committed by the terrorist mercenaries in Syria have nothing to do with the concept of reform, as those mercenaries are bound to the Zionist and American projects in the region. Members of the Syrian community in Sweden expressed their confidence that security and stability will return to Syria due to the steadfastness of the honest Syrians inside the country and abroad, and to their support of their leadership and the Syrian Arab Army. The statement added that the terrorist blast that took place in Damascus last Thursday aims at shattering the political program which was recently outlined by President Bashar al-Assad. The blast indicates the bankruptcy of the Zio-American scheme which aims to undermine Syria's unity, security and stability. Members of the Syrian community in Sweden asserted that the blood of the Syrian innocent victims is a witness of the brutality of Syria's enemies, and it is a proof of their desperation of objecting the Syrian people. The statement praised the efforts exerted by the Syrian Arab Army, who fights the fiercest type of wars persisting to restore security to the country by eradicating terrorism. In Aleppo city, the terrorist groups left behind huge destruction in the old city, especially in al-Zahrawi and Sweqa neighborhoods. And our news team accompanied the Syrian Arab Army units, witnessing the huge damages in the private and public properties that left the neighborhoods totally destroyed, making them in need for great reconstruction as there is wide-scale material damage. Meanwhile, the armed fighters, including the Nusra Front, are feeling choked, and out of desperation, they started destroying homes and shelling the area in a random way. A military source said that a unit of our army confronted a terrorist group as it tried to attack a military position in the area of al-Nabuk in the Damascus countryside and inflicted heavy casualties among the terrorists at dawn today. In the last 2 days, our valiant armed forces also confiscated wireless equipment, RPG launchers and 20,000 electric keys prepared by the terrorists to make explosive devices. In Adra, a unit of our army inflicted heavy casualties among terrorists who committed crimes of murder, plunder and captured a number of their criminals. In Idlib, a Syrian Arab Army unit clashed with terrorist groups in various villages in the countryside and on various crossroads and highways, killing and wounding many of them and destroying their tools and equipment. In the Homs countryside, a unit of our army foiled an attempt by terrorist groups to infiltrate into Syria from Lebanese territory through the Tel Kelach countryside. The terrorists used machine guns and rocket missiles against the border guards and the inhabitants of various Syrian villages in the area. They were confronted by our army, which killed and wounded several of them, while the rest took to their heels back into Lebanon. The terrorist Abdelhadi Mohammed al-Khief admitted that he joined terrorists who destroyed the national hospital in al-Qasir in the Homs countryside. They used explosive devices, planting them in a tunnel they dug under the hospital. The explosion led to the death and the wounding of a number of nurses and medical personnel. The terrorist admitted on Syrian TV that he joined the terrorist group led by Muhannad Ghannoum, also known as Abu Bakr, with 25 armed terrorists. He admitted that they dug the tunnel from the house of the Harba family. The tunnel was nearly 300 meters long. Then the terrorist group planted mines and explosive devices which they detonated through remote control. At the same time, 2 terrorist groups attacked the hospital. They also kidnapped and tortured 20 people from the villages of Al-Aqrabiya and Al-Ghassaniya. They killed one of them and stole 2 large vehicles at the crossroads Abul. He admitted that his gang got weapons and money from a person called Dabba Ghannoum and his 2 sons, who brought the money and weapons from Lebanon. The square of Sultan al-Atrash in the village of Majd al-Shams in occupied Golan witnessed a candle march in mourning of the victims of the recent terrorist explosion that took place in Al-Mazra'ah neighborhood in Damascus. The people of the occupied Golan also denounced the terrorist bombing, stressing that such heinous acts express the bankruptcy of the terrorists and their supporters and their failure to achieve the goals of the conspiracy being hatched against Syria. They affirmed that such acts will neither affect the Syrians nor their determination to achieve the comprehensive national reconciliation and go ahead with the reform process. In Damascus, the subsidiary Committee of National Dialogue began its preparatory consultative meetings to seek a comprehensive solution. The committee met a delegation of teachers who stressed the importance of facilities to carry out dialogue in schools and to enable students to take part in the cultural activities of their community. The committee also met a delegation of the Women's Union who stressed the importance of women's participation in the dialogue, which should enter every house. Dr. Bishr Sabban, governor of Damascus, also stressed the necessity of holding dialogues with various sectors and specters of society in order to attain a better future for Syria. The meetings are expected to continue in Damascus for the coming few days to include all social activities. In El-Sueda, the subsidiary Committee of Dialogue held a meeting with the Party of the Popular Will and listened to proposals about the dialogue mechanisms. Members of the party called for the dialogue to deal with the law of elections, the economic situation, and giving freedom to all forces under the ceiling of the homeland. The national information media should present the views of all Syrians. The meeting also included the organizations of doctors, dentists, and educational personnel, discussing with them the implementation of the political program of national dialogue to solve the crisis in Syria. The Sueda governor Atif al-Nadaf asserted that the committee did not ignore anybody. Members of the trade union stressed the importance of protecting the interests of all citizens, expressing the aspirations of the people and bringing to account all the corrupt persons who traded in crisis for selfish purposes. Representative of the Conference of the Communist Party of Federal Russia approved a communique expressing full support for the official authorities in Syria. They called upon the Russian leadership to give strong political and material support to Syria to enable it to repulse foreign aggression. They asserted that the West was exerting all efforts to bring down the Syrian system through gangs of rented terrorists and mercenaries recruited to serve the Western agendas. They finance the terrorists and support them with weapons. They asserted that events in Syria were not the result of internal conflict, but of a flagrant aggression. This aggression was not carried out by NATO armies, but by their spies and agents. The Russian communists asserted that the West was showing unprecedented hypocrisy, claiming to be combating international terrorism, but at the same time the West utilized the most abominable terrorist organization to destroy Syria. The communique pointed out that the West does not like Syria's independent policy. Therefore, world imperialism is trying to bring down the legitimate Syrian authority under the false pretext of democracy. Hundreds of Turks gathered in several cities to protest against the detention of scores of military personnel accused of plotting against the government of Recep Tayyip Erdogan. They called for justice and the release of those detained. The Labour Party called for forming a front against Erdogan's government and its hostile policies against Syria. This is it for our news for today. For more information, you can visit our website, syriaonline.sy. After the break, it's Vani Kanashian bringing us Syria's latest economy. From me, it's God bless you and long live our beloved Syria.
Good afternoon. The director of the Natural Resources Department in Hama stressed that the department's production plan for this season requires producing about 215,000 seedlings. Some of them are to be cultivated in the winter and others in the spring due to their sensitivity for frosts. He added that the department started producing 140,000 spring seedlings while it finished cultivating 75,000 seedlings of the autumn types, such as pine trees, pointing out that the seedlings are to be grown up inside the department's planting center, and they would be sold or invested in the government's forests during the next agricultural season. The Securities Market Regulation Commission in China affirmed that the Chinese government will ease foreign investor regulations in the local bond market. The committee noted that under the revised rules, investors in this program will not need to deal with the stockbrokers as long as they use the local currency. In the local markets, the price of the 21-carat gold was set at 4,350 Syrian pounds, while the chairman of the Jewelers Assembly emphasized that the high prices of gold are due to differences between the low prices of gold globally and the low dollar prices in the local black markets, especially that the golden ounce in the global stock market is fluctuating lately, as it was set at $1,581 an ounce, marking a $28 decline from last week. The weekly dealings at the Damascus Securities Exchange reached 240,000 shares, while the transactions exceeded 21 million Syrian pounds. The DWX index registered 776.32 points, declining by 6 points from last week. The banking sector came first in terms of the value and volume of transactions, followed by insurance and industry. The Central Bank of Syria set the price of exchanging the US dollar against the Syrian pound for the second day at 80.76 Syrian pounds. According to the Central Bank, the price of purchasing the euro was set at 108.36 Syrian pounds. With this, we conclude our news. Thank you for watching and goodbye.